Well, hello there. Today we are doing part 7 for Invaders 3. This is after we completed chapter 4 in the book. And you may ask yourself, why is Mr. Miller talking this way? And that's because I watched another teacher's videos and they were much more professional. So I will be doing it like this from now on. Now, let's take a look at this whole thing. So here's what we're doing. We're going to add the cannon counter class. What we want to do is keep track of the score. All right, Greenfoot provides some pre-made classes that are useful. Import a counter to your scenario by choosing Edit Import Class. So what that's going to look like is something a little like this. So we're going to go to Edit, and we're going to go to Import Class, and you can import a counter. So do that, and you should have a counter over here. Okay. All right. So next, let's see what it says to do. Add the counter class programmatically to the world. It displays life equals 3. So what you're going to do, obviously, is you're going to have to go into space and add it programmatically, but you need it to say something, right? So you got to look through the methods that are built into this thing to get it to, how do you get it to say what you want it to say? Okay, so let's take a look. Is public counter. Well, let's take a look at the constructor, right? Okay, so look, notice it has two constructors. Public counter, you can say, hey, I just want a blank counter, or you can say, hey, I want a counter, and you can send it string, which is text, right? And then you can send it a number. Okay, so make a counter and give it some text and with a comma and then a number, and you can set up the score. Okay. All right, so let's take a look and see what that's going to look like. So if we go to space, it's going to look a little bit something like, so we have populate world, right, in our space constructor, and in here add cannon life counter, and it's, so you could basically, what you should do is say add new counter. Mine's a little bit different. So add object new counter, and you want to tell it, where is it at? You want to say life, comma 3. Okay, so you want to say add object new counter life counter 3. It's a combination of these two lines of code. Don't do it this way. Okay, hopefully you can figure that out. All right, so we've added a counter automatically. So when I hit reset, oh, it's not a score counter, it's a life counter, so life equals 3. Okay. For some reason I was thinking we're counting lives, scores, we're counting the life. Okay, you could do a score counter too, but for now let's do a life. Okay, so let's go back to the PowerPoint slideshow, and let's do it. Okay. What method in the counter can we use to display the lives of the cannon? So basically, what I'm saying is, how can we get the counter to change to display the life? So he starts with 3. If he gets hit and we want to go to 2, how would you do that? So let's find out. Alright, so we're going to go to the counter, and we want to find a method in the counter that we can change the number, right? So that when the cannon gets hit, he can send some information to the counter and say, hey, would you reduce that number? So here's a constructor, here's a second constructor. This has overloaded constructors, two constructors. Alright, there's the act method, won't be there. Okay, public void add, so you could add stuff to it. So that might be, you could add like a negative number, that might be one. Or you could get the value, that's where it tells you what the score would be. Or here's one, set value. So it's either going to be add or set value. Probably going to be set value is the answer to that question, right? So you say set value, you send it a number, and that's going to be the number that it displays. Okay, so if you say set value 2, then this will turn to 2. Okay, probably looks good right there. All right, let's keep looking. All right. Access one object from another. All right, we need the cannon to tell the counter to go down in value when the cannon is hit. Okay. All right, we can kind of do that, right? Make a method in the cannon called update cannon life counter that will call the counter's set value method. So the cannon, let's just do this. Let me show you graphically what I'm talking about. Okay, so this guy needs to talk to this guy and say, hey, would you move that from 3 to 2 because I just got hit, right? So this guy needs to talk to this guy, and we know that there's trouble with that, or difficulty with that, and we accomplished that. We did that, by the way, when this guy's bullet hit this guy, we made his lives go down. So the bullet, let's run it. So this guy's bullet, when this guy's bullet hits this guy, it's able to change his life value. So in the same way, this guy needs to talk to this guy and make that number go down. So we know that there's a trick to it, and so we're going to keep going and talk about that. All right. Okay, so try this method. So we're going to put this into the canon, right? So public int update life counter, canon life counter dot set value life. Okay, what's the result? So make a new method, public int up. Okay, what's the result? And the result is probably not good. It's probably not going to work because we have to figure out a way for the canon to talk to the counter, right? There's two problems. How do we access the counter? And once we access the counter, how do we tell it what to do? That should say counter. I'm going to fix that real quick. Sorry, be patient with me here. Okay, so there's two problems. Once we access the counter, how do we tell it what to do? Okay, now look. Let's take a look at this. You'd think, hey, we just did that exact thing with before, right? Didn't we just do that exact thing with when the bullet hit this guy? But not really, because look, when this bullet hits the cannon, how does it know which cannon to be there? There could be 3 cannons, right? I could very well have 3 cannons in here, right? So when this guy hits the cannon, how does it know? Like, hey, I want you to subtract a life from a cannon. Is it this cannon or this cannon? The answer is, it says, hey, I want you to find the cannon that I'm touching right now, and then I want you to subtract a life from that cannon, right? But how about this? So when this guy loses a life, he needs to talk to this guy, but he's not touching him. So how do we know it's this counter? Because you could have a life counter and you could also have a score counter, right? Okay, so there's a difficulty with that. How do we figure out which counter we're talking to because we're not touching it, right? Okay, so brainstorm on that and come up with an answer to that. How do we tell it what to do? Okay, try to figure it out. See if you're smart and you can figure it out. And the answer is the solution to accessing the counter, figuring out which counter it is. So here, answer this question. Who would be a good person to keep track of all the objects in the world? So look, we need to keep track of this guy right here and say, hey, when this guy gets hit, this guy needs to go down. So who would be a good person to keep track of that? And the answer is, as you can figure out, space, right? Because space is the guy who puts him in the world, right? So solution, so that whenever you're trying to get one guy to talk to another guy, there's 3 steps. Step 1, store the reference in the world when creating the object. Okay, so basically you go to space and you say public static counter canon life counter equals new counter life comma 3. Oh, I forgot the comma 3. Okay, so let's take a look at this code in space. If I can find space. Okay, so look at the code in space. All right, so here's what you're going to do. You're going to create this variable. You're going to say, hey, I want a counter, right? So I want to, basically you say this, I want a box name, canon life counter. The only thing that can go into the box is a counter, and what are you going to put into it? You're going to put in a new counter, right? And you're going to say life and 3. That's all good and dandy. So now you come down here and you change it to look like this. You say, hey, I want to add object. Well, what object do you want to add? Hey, I want to add the guy that's in this box called canon life counter. So you take your box, called canon life counter, you dump the contents into the world. So basically now, so this guy right here, not only is he living in the world, but he's also living in this box, this instance variable right here called canon life counter. So we can get to him right here. There we can find him. There he is. He's in a box called canon life counter. He's existing in 2 places, right? He's there and he's there, right? Good. So we can get to him, kind of, right? Okay. Almost. So let's keep talking. So we kind of know where he's at. We can kind of get to him, but we're not done yet. All right. So you're going to do this code, right? And then you're going to say add object counter, life counter, and put them in where you want them, okay? In the correct location. This might not be the right numbers. Okay. Step 2, add a method to space class to return the counter. So if our cannon, so basically what we want to have happen is we want cannon to say, hey space, who is that guy? And he'll say, oh, he's the guy in the box called cannon life counter, right? So what we do is we go to space now, and we make a new method, and we call it return cannon life counter. And what is it going to return? A counter. So here's it's not void because it's actually returning something. If we say return the cannon life counter, it's sending us a counter, right? And so we say return cannon life counter, and it's going to find the guy in this box called cannon life counter, and it's going to send us to us, right? Well, who's going to do this? Well, the cannon needs to do it, right? So now we're going to go to the cannon, okay, and we're going to do a little something like this. So we're going to make a new method. By the way, many kids blow this. Let's go back up to this. Hold on. Let's go back. Where'd it go? Hold on, where'd it go? See this? This didn't work. So you're going to keep this method public int update cannon life counter, right? But this didn't work. So we're making changes to this thing, right? Okay. Okay, we did this. Add a method to the space class to return the counter. Okay, we already looked at that. Okay. Yes, right? You already did this. Good. All right. Step 3, call on the counters method. Public void update cannon life counter. So here's some code that we're going to add to. We're going to add this code to the cannon, right? Public void update cannon life counter. Here's the code that's really going to work. So let's take a look inside the cannon, and we're going to find this actual code. If we can find the cannon here. Okay, so we're going to go to somewhere in here. Update the cannon life counter. Now look what we're doing. We're saying, hey, I want to make a box named Space World. What can go into it? Space. And we're saying space get world. So basically you're saying you're getting the current world and you're sticking it in a box called cannon life counter, so now we can talk to space, right? So we say, hey, the space that's in cannon life counter box, would you set the value to life? Okay. So we say, oh, hold on. No. I got that wrong. All right, so we say we've got space. I skipped one. So we have space in a box called Space World. So then we say, hey, I want to make a guy named Cannon Life Counter. He's a counter, and we're going to make him equal to Space World. So now we're talking to space dot return Cannon Life Counter. So we're accessing, so we're able to go talk to space. We're saying, hey, space, would you return the cannon life counter? And it's like, yeah, he's the cannon life counter. He's that counter in the world, right? And so then you say cannon life counter dot set value. So now you can actually ask the counter to set the value to life. So life, by the way, this is in the cannon. So like if his life goes down, he can do it. So all right, so we have this method, update cannon life counter. We actually have to call it. So we taught it how to do this. Now we have to teach it to do it. Well, when do we want to do this? It's when he gets hit. So we're going to probably go to damage. Okay, so here's damage. So life equals life minus damage. So he gets hit. So the bullet damages him. So now he says, hey, counter, will you update yourself? And then we do this. This doesn't matter. But update the cannon life counter. So it's going to come down here, and it's going to do it. Okay? Alright, so part 7. If we need one object to call a method of another one, what is the 3-step process? Well, the 3-step process is right here in red. It is store the reference in the world when creating the object. It is add a method to the space class to return it. And then call on the counters method. Okay, that's the 3-step method. And you're ready for part 8. Okay, hopefully you got that done. Hopefully that wasn't too painful.